Good morning, Year 5. This is your first English lesson. I'm sorry that we are not able to be in school together. It's a shame that we're missing our last week of school, but me and Ms. Fink are still really excited to see the work that you're going to be doing this week. And hopefully when we come back, we can have resume our little Christmas sort of celebrations. We're really sad that we can't spend this last week with you. But we are still going to be doing our lessons and we will be looking at your work and waiting for that on email. So we are really excited to see it, and we'll try and keep as much contact with you guys as we can, and we're missing you all. So the way that English is going to work this week, instead of having our 1 Chile, 2 Chile and Mrs. Bryant's group, if you are in Mrs. Bryant's group and you know who you are, if you go out to the back room in English, you need to be working on the pages with this little green monster on. If you are in Ms. Vink or my group, Ms. Fulvena's group, you need to look out for the blue monster, and any work you need to do has the blue monster at the top. So you'll be able to have a look and know which slides to look at and which slides you can skip. So, starter, please make sure you have a pen or some paper with you so you can do your starter. If you are following the green monster, your starter is to add the correct punctuation to my sentences. The first sentence is, I love chocolate at Christmas. And my second sentence is, how many days are there until Christmas? You need to add the correct punctuation to those sentences. You may start now. And if you are following the blue monster, you need to add the correct punctuation to these sentences. Let me just move this one up a little bit so that you can see. The first sentence is, wow, Paris is wonderful, exclaimed Sophie. So have a little think about what punctuation you're going to need to add to that sentence. And my second sentence is, the white cobbled streets which glinted in the sunlight seemed to stretch for miles. Please pause the video now and write out your sentences. And when you're ready to mark them, then you may press play again. Okay, answers for our green monster. You should have put a capital letter at the start of your sentence for I and a full stop at the end, as it is a sentence that does not contain a question or an exclamation. In our second sentence, you needed a capital letter at the start of your sentence for the H, and then a question mark at the end because it's a question. How many days are there until Christmas? It's a how question, so you needed a question mark. Please give yourself a tick or edit it in a different coloured pen. If you are following the blue monster, the first question, you should have put some inverted commas because it is speech, direct speech, and a capital letter for the W because we always put a capital letter when we start our direct speech. So you should have had a capital W. Wow, Paris. Now, Paris is a noun, a proper noun. It's the name of a place. So it needed a capital letter. And then finally, you needed to have in your direct speech an exclamation mark and inverted commas. The reason we have an exclamation mark is because we know that Sophie is exclaiming it. It says exclaimed Sophie. So you needed to have an exclamation mark inside the inverted commas. And then we need to capitalize S because Sophie, again, is a proper noun. It's the name of our main character. And then a full stop at the end because it shows we finished our sentence. So please make sure you tick or you edit in your purple pen. Our second question, you needed a capital T because we're starting our sentence. The white, comma, cobbled streets is an example of an expanded noun phrase. So you needed to have your comma in between white and cobbled because they are adjectives to describe the noun, which is the streets. Then we needed a comma because it is a relative clause, which glinted in the sunlight. Remember, our relative pronouns, which, that, and who, show us it is a relative clause. You needed commas in between those. Seemed to stretch for miles, then we just need a full stop because we don't have any proper nouns and it is not a question or an exclamation, so we can finish with a full stop. Please make sure you've edited those and check them with a different coloured pen. If you are following the blue monster, you may fast forward to the part with the blue monster. If you are in Mrs. Bryant's group, you need to stay and listen to this part. So if you are following the blue monster, you're in me and Miss Vink's group, then you now need to fast forward this clip because you do not need to know anything for this part. This is for Mrs. Bryant's group. Okay, so I should just have the people in Mrs. Bryant's group for this part. Today we are going to be writing describing sentences about Christmas. I would like you to see if you can spot the adjective. These are, there's a clue, they are describing words. You don't need to write anything down, just see if you can spot them. Talk to an adult next to you, see if you can get all of the describing words. You can pause the video now, and then when you're ready to find out the answers, press play again. Here are our answers. So sweet was one of our adjectives, beautiful, red, bright, and cozy. There were 5 adjectives. Let's hope you got all of those right, and they should be describing something. Marshmallow, tree, and present are all examples of nouns. They are things. They're not describing anything. They are things. Now, our monster wants to know, can you write a sentence using one adjective to describe one of the nouns? So have a look. Here are our 5 adjectives, and here are our 3 nouns. Could you please pause the video and write me a sentence using one of the adjectives to describe one of the nouns? When you're ready to move on, you may press play again. Okay, here is my example. That is a beautiful tree. A beautiful tree. Beautiful is my adjective and tree is my noun. Beautiful comes before tree because we're trying to describe our noun, so it needs to come before our noun. Did you remember your full stop and capital letter? That's a question that our monster's asking. I have my capital letter at the start and my full stop at the end. Can you check with a purple pen or a pen near you whether you had your capital letter and your full stop? Now you can try and add an expanded noun phrase. I know you've had a go at these with Mrs. Bryant in your group, so we should be experts at our expanded noun phrases. So instead of having that is a beautiful tree, I have added beautiful as one of my adjectives, a comma to separate my adjectives, green, and then a noun. So all we are doing is adding another adjective to make our sentence more interesting. For example, the sweet marshmallow. Instead of just having sweet, we can have the sweet gooey marshmallow, but they need to be separated with a comma. Remember that comma. Can you have a go at unscrambling my sentence? I have a full stop, sticky, the, marshmallow, a comma, and pink. Have a think. Remember, our expanded noun phrase needs a comma between the adjectives, so that will help you. When you're ready to find out the answer, then you may press play again. So please pause the video now and write my sentence. Here we are. There could have been 2 ways you could have unscrambled my sentence. The first one was a sticky pink marshmallow, remembering my comma because I need my comma for an expanded noun phrase, or a pink sticky marshmallow. It doesn't matter which way around you did it, as long as there's a comma between your adjectives. So please give yourself a tick or a cross and change it if you need to. Okay, talk to an adult or have a look at the pictures below and tell me, what can you see? What things can you see in the picture? When you're ready to move on, you may press play again. So pause now, talk to an adult or someone around you. What things can you see in the pictures below? So I can see things like presents, baubles, snow, a house, lights, a car, candy cane, a horse. What your task is today is to write 5 sentences about the pictures below using expanded noun phrases and adjectives. So use the structure we've just looked at, adjective, comma, adjective, noun, and have a look if you can describe the 2 pictures. You only need to write 5 sentences. You don't need to write 10. So you just write 5 sentences. You can pick and choose between the pictures. I've added some magpied words on the side if you need spelling. So I have crunchy, snow, white, soft, icy trees, sparkle for the bottom photo. And I have presents, red, ribbon, green, bright, twinkle, glittery, rough and smooth for the top photo. So please write out your sentences, remembering your full stops and your capital letters, and try and have a go at writing one with an expanding noun phrase as a challenge. That is your task for today. So if you are in Mrs. Bryant's group, you may now pause the video. You may go backwards and have a look at any of the expanding noun phrases if you need some more practice, but that is your task. All you need to do is write 5 sentences. So you may stop the video now. Okay, if you are a blue monster, you should have skipped to this point now. And I should have all the people who are in Miss Vink's and my class. So make sure that you have got to this point with the monster. And we are going to be having a look at our model text again. We are still doing our letter, even though you're not there to have your books up. We are still going to have a go at writing our letter today. We've done lots of work on Sophie and Mr. Maxim. So I believe that you should be able to write these letters using your amazing memories and the things I've got on the slides today. So let's remind ourselves of our model text. You can pause the video now and maybe you could read it to an adult because they haven't heard our model text. So why don't you read it out loud to an adult? I'm aware that it's a little bit blurry, so just have a go. But why don't you read it out loud? When you're ready to move on, you may press play again. Okay, so you should have read our model text, and let's remind ourselves of the structure of a formal letter. So we start our letter off with Dear Mr. Maxim, a comma, and then underneath. We are writing to Mr. Elliot, but we still use dear because that is the formal way of starting a letter. A comma, and we start on the line underneath. That's really important. We don't just carry on along the line, we go underneath to start our first paragraph. Our first paragraph addresses why we are writing. So we're going to start off with I am writing to inform you. And that is what your first sentence will be when you come to write later. Then we have our first point. Our first point was that Sophie doesn't go to school. And we've had a talk about all the arguments we have as to why she doesn't need to go to school. So when you write your letter, you'll be having your argument as to why she shouldn't go, why she doesn't need to go to school. Then we have our second point. And then our third point. And finally, we have a small concluding sentence. So for us, because we're arguing against Mr. Elliot, we might say, my decision to keep Sophie is final. You may magpie the words as long as you're going the opposite, because remember, we are trying to fight for Sophie. We are writing to Mr. Elliot in response to this letter. And then you must sign off. You can choose yours sincerely, yours respectively. You can use the word map to help you to sign off your letter. Okay, here is our box up. I know you don't have the box up in front of you, and that is a shame because I was really impressed with all of my class's box ups, and I know Miss Vink was too, and you're going to have to really try and remember off the top of your head what you put in all of those boxes. However, I have left it up here for you, so when you are writing your letter, you may come back to this slide and come backwards, and you could write some notes in each of the boxes or write some bullet points to help you remember what you put on each one. You can also remember the role play we did as Mr. Maxim and Mr. Elliot to help you to write your letter. So don't worry that we don't have the box up. You can come back to this slide and have a little look to remind yourself, but we don't need the box up because we've done a lot of work on Mr. Maxim and Sophie. But this is a refresher of what our box up looks like. Okay. So today you're going to be writing your letter, not the official end letter. We are going to edit this version and then you'll be writing up later in the week. So this is your first letter draft that we will edit tomorrow. So you need to make sure you write it today. What can I use to help me? You can go back to the box up slide to have a look at the box up if you need to remember. There's the word map, which I've got on the next slide for you to use. Remember the role play we did between Mr. Maxim and Mr. Elliot to remember all the points. And then also use the model text. You can go back and have a look at the model text to magpie any words. So here is our word mat. You may pause the video here to copy down some of the ideas if you would like to, or you can come back to this slide by moving the bar along back to here in the video, and whilst you're writing you can magpie the things on this word map. Please make sure you use the word map because it's really important that you use all of this formal language. It's here to help you, so please use it. If you'd like to pause now to copy some down, you may, or if you'd like to come back to this part of the video, that is fine. Okay, when you have finished writing your letter, you can use this small tip list. So have you started your letter with "Dear Mr. Elliot" and then a comma and gone on to the next line? Have you used each of the points in their own separate paragraphs? You should have 3 paragraphs with each point, the school, the writing on the walls, and the trousers. Have you checked your spellings? You can now go online and have a look at your spellings, or use a dictionary, or ask an adult to help you. Have you used words from the word map and at least one sentence starter from the word map? You may go back to that page. Have you added high-level vocabulary? Have you used that high-level vocabulary we've spoken about? Have you magpied it from the text? And have you signed off your letter with one of the options on the word mat? So when you finish, you can come and check off this list. I'm going to stop sharing now, so you may go back in the video and have a look at each of the slides if you need them. I'm expecting these letters to be written beautifully. We've done a lot of work on our formal letters, and me and Miss Fink are really looking for some great work. So just because we're not at school does not mean that the letters should be rushed. Please use the slides to help you to write it out. I want to see lovely formal language, and me and Miss Fink are expecting to be blown away by these letters. So please use each of the slides to help you. Make sure you have a fresh piece of paper and that you're writing it out. I know it's tricky because we don't have the box up, but me and Miss Fink know that you guys are determined that you'll be able to do it. So make sure you write it up today, because the next video will be us editing. And if you haven't got your work finished, you're not going to be editing it. Okay, have a lovely day, Year 5, and I will see you for the next video tomorrow.